Hey everyone, today we are going to be installing a Tekno big bore center drive shaft. Now I have this whole truck blown apart here because I just got done putting new diffs in and cleaning it up and all of that good stuff. But in reality, you probably don't have to have it taken this far down, but also it's so simple to do this, guys. So if you look, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that'll take the front end, the entire front end off of this truck, other than your steering linkage here, which is another screw, and then it's the same thing in the back. You've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's so easy. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that goes along with these 4 here, and then from the bottom back here you have, if you see them here, see these two, this two, and then you've got those 2 little ones there. And that's all it is. It's 4 screws, front and rear, 5 if you count the steering linkage. It's so simple to take this thing apart. It's very easy, alright? We have the outdrive cups that come with this drive shaft. Now, if you notice, there's 2 different diameters here, correct? Well, let's see if I can get it to focus here. There we go. You see how there's 2 separate diameters? I've already had this one on once. That's why there's Loctite in it. You've got a small diameter and a large diameter. Because the small diameter goes on the spur gear there. Okay? Very simple. Now we're not going to do that yet, because it just so happens that this bearing back here is the same diameter as this, and trying to get this and the spur gear and everything fed through there and mated to that shaft is a real big pain in the butt, which is another reason why I said, it's easier if you just disassemble it all. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run the spur gear through here first. Right? Makes sense? You see? And then we're going to put this on. You guys ain't the only one who need light. I do too. So if this is a little out of focus, it's because I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing as well. Take this right here out. You've got teeny tiny little itty bitty grub screws. See that? Teeny tiny little thing. I'm going to take it. Put just a tiny dab of blue Loctite on it. Not much. It's a small screw. It doesn't need a whole lot. I say as I totally drown it in Loctite. But make sure you don't cross thread it. And also, there is a flat part on this shaft. This grub screw keys into that flat part. You don't want this grub screw on the rounded part of that shaft. Alright? So that's another thing we need to look at here real quick. Where's the flat part of that shaft? There it is. See that flat part? That's what the grub screw sits on, okay? So make sure you have that lined up, or else this is going to come loose. And when it comes loose, it's just going to free spin on that shaft, and you're not going to have any rear wheel drive. Alright? So there is the rear part. The rear, what is it called? I forget the name, but it's what it slots into. Now with this Tekno kit, what you're going to get with it is, if I can find them, if I can remember where I put them. Okay, so we're going to have a pack of these. These right here are meant to keep your drive shaft. Okay, now you see how this is? And this goes through the chassis. Keys in right there, see? Doesn't matter what type of chassis you have, how much bracing you have on it, whether it's plastic, aluminum, it doesn't matter. A chassis is going to flex, and when it does, the distance between here and here is going to change. This is going to move. That's what these are. You pack them in here, and they're meant to cushion this drive shaft, so for one, it doesn't rattle around and make a whole bunch of noise. And for two, so that it doesn't bottom out against metal when you inevitably take a hard impact and your chassis decides that it wants to flex. So those go in there. Can y'all see that? Just going to push them to the back, just like that. Now, two might be too much, but we're going to go ahead and put both of them in there because it did come with four. Where's the fourth one? I just now had it. There it is. Okay, you see how much of a gap we have here? We won't go in any further. I'm willing to bet that 2 is going to be too much. So I'm just going to do 1 for now. There we go. Alright, that's in. Now, the front piece, and this is another reason why I said you might want to take this truck apart. You can get to the set screw that's right here with the truck all set, like put together, but to get this one on here, rotate it, get it lined up and all of that, and then stick an Allen wrench through here, you know, to tighten out that grub screw. Very complicated, and it's easier, again, it's 4 screws, it's easier to just take the front of the truck apart. Alright. This goes on there. We can see where the threads are. There they are. See them? And we're going to put, again, just a small little dab of Loctite. A little bit will do you, especially on something this small. And this stuff comes out so fast. I've always had a problem with using way too much of it. Snug it down. We don't want to force it, right? You never want to go too tight with something. Okay, now that's all together. The only thing left to do is put the front and rear pieces back on the chassis and run the drive shaft through. So let's do that real quick. You guys remember how simple I told you this was? Check this out. You have 2 screws here. You got 1 here and 1 here. This is for your steering setup. Those cap head screws will key in to those little slots there, okay? So make sure they're not full of a bunch of dirt and debris, or else your chassis won't sit flush right there and you'll wind up having issues. That's all there is to putting the front of that in. When you put the servo back in and stuff, you've got to put your screw through there and attach it to there. But other than that, that whole front end's it's all back together, and it's that simple. So there's really no reason to sit here and screw around trying to get an Allen wrench through the side of this truck to get that Allen head out. It's very simple. There we have it. It's all together now. You can see how it's all in there snug. The drive shaft still has some room to move back and forth. And actually, I could put both of those rubber pieces in there. So we're actually going to add both of those rubber washers. A little bit less, just a hair bit. You know what? I would like to take one of those back out. I want a little more slop than that. The rubber grommets here will give, but we want to make sure that If we do take a really hard impact, then we've got more than enough room for everything to flex and be happy. So I'm going to take one of them out. There we go. Now let's try it. Got a little more movement to it now, but it's better than it was. Okay, that drive shaft is in now and everything's good. It's all connected. Now we put the rear end back on. So I got to take my screws back out here. These need to be Loctited because if you remember in a previous video we put on that hot racing aluminum mount. These actually go into the bottom of that aluminum mount. Alright. This chassis actually keys in to the bottom there. Do you see that? You've got a little area there. See how it's got a groove? This chassis needs to key into that. But you see how it won't move forward? It's because the spur gear back here is not keyed into your rear diff. So like that. There you have it. Now it's in. There's a trick to getting that rear end on. Once you learn it, it's super easy. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to sit there for 20 minutes trying to get it all slipped together, and it's a pain in the butt. All you got to do is, well, know what you're doing, alright? Other than that, real simple. And now, those 4 little screws that we took out, we put right back in. And there we go. We have, other than the rear links being disconnected, which I'll get to that after the video, but that is 100% a complete slider slash 4x4. That's how simple it is to replace that center drive shaft. And if you're not sitting here, you know, holding this, trying to show people and all that good stuff, then it takes maybe 5-10 minutes to do it. So it's a real simple process. Don't be afraid to do it. If you're new at this, just think of everything like Lego. It's very simple. Peppermint tea. Really good. Especially on a cold night. Anyways, that's it. That's all there is to changing that center drive shaft out. Real simple, real easy to do, real quick process. I know I've repeated myself multiple times, but again, it's very easy to take this whole truck apart into 3 pieces and get access to everything there. Don't be afraid to do it. Just keep an eye on where your screws are at. If you're going to have it apart for more than a few minutes, take your screws, and if you noticed how I had them all in the holes where they belong, even when it's disassembled, it takes 5 seconds to halfway thread a screw back into the hole you took it out of to keep track of it. I always do that just to make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to be. But there you go. Tekno Big Bone center drive shaft is installed. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.